Hello fam, how are you? Come, let's make vegetable soup the Anambra style. So what you need for this recipe is basically your goat meat, dried fish, stockfish, onions, palm oil, water leaf, Uziza leaf, pumpkin leaf, your scent leaf which is optional, and the rest of the materials. Now into the pot, add the goat meat, add your blended pepper mixture composed of onions and pepper. Add salt and add your spice. Don't add other spices aside from your beef seasoning and your salt. Stir completely and cover to simmer on low heat, and at some point add some water to it to cook up to the extent you want, because you will don't want a hard goat meat, you want a tender meat. Now add your stockfish into the pot to get soft to some extent, after which you're meant to add your dried fish afterwards. Then we proceed to stir completely, cover up for the meat to get soft, then proceed to add your dried fish into it, because you don't want this dried fish to get softened and scattered individually. You want it to all come together. Now allow the water in the pot to dry to some extent, because vegetable soup is really cooked with minimal water, except you're the type that enjoys water in your vegetable soup. Then feel free to make it the way you want it to be. Now, to the already dried pot or almostly dry pot, introduce your palm oil. I love using enough palm oil for vegetable soup because it gives it this local taste and fresh taste to some extent. Now, add your locust bean seed. Here we call it iru. It gives it this local roasted taste, just like your Okpeghe Prosopis Africana. Now, you can as well introduce the Okpeghe at this point. I usually dissolve it with the help of salt in my hand and, pour it directly into the pot without using a mortar. Now, for the purpose of this method, lots of onion has been used to season this meat. Like about up to 6 balls of onions were blended together with the pepper at the initial stage. That's why you don't see me adding onion here. Now, stir completely to incorporate the entire ingredient you've already added before proceeding to add your crayfish. Now, introduce the crayfish. Ensure to add enough crayfish to this because it's a local dish and it needs natural taste to heighten the taste of it. Now proceed to add your thoroughly washed pumpkin leaves first. Cover the pot and allow to simmer for easy turning. Now ensure to stir the vegetable soup thoroughly well. At this point, you need to keep on stirring, leaving the pot open to ensure all the moisture in the pot dries out to some extent, leaving behind the palm oil extract there. Now rinse in your thoroughly washed Uziza leaves and the scent leaf into the pot at this point to ensure maximum incorporation and to allow the flavor of the Uziza leaf and scent leaf sink into the soup for maximum taste. Now stir completely, stir thoroughly to cook the vegetables. It is quite important to know that your vegetables must be washed thoroughly clean with maximum water to prevent sand from contaminating the soup, because it doesn't speak well for an edikaiko or a vegetable soup to be full of sand. Cover the pot and let it simmer. Add more pepper to the level you can tolerate. Stir completely while you prepare to add your final vegetable, which is your water leaf. If you watched to this point, it means you find our recipes interesting and so palatable. Please tell us where you're watching from that we may leave a hug for you in our next video. Now introduce your water leaf to the pot and stir continuously. So the water leaf at this point works to hold the entire materials, the recipe, the water, everything. It binds it together while adding moisture to your soup. So it's normally added last for me. Most people prefer adding it first before the water leaf, but I prefer adding the water leaf lastly before setting down the pot of soup. Now, at every point in time, please ensure to taste your soup. Taste what you are cooking to avoid having lots of salt or beef seasoning in your soup. You need to always be cautious about the quantity of salt and seasoning you use in your soup, especially local soup. It can be tolerated in foreign dishes, but for local soup, you need to minimize the quantity used. If possible, measure it out at the beginning of your cooking so that at the end of your cooking, you may adjust the level of your seasoning, salt, beef seasoning, pepper. Nobody's a bad cook. You just have to learn how to taste your meal appropriately. If you do not trust your tasting, ensure that someone beside you tastes your meal. Now, I like completing this dish with some level of crayfish at the end of the cooking to add extra taste and improve the fishy taste of the soup. Now, tell me, why wouldn't you offer me a bag of gold after tasting this meal? You need to give this meal a trial and tell me how it tastes afterwards. Thank you for watching. So, see you next time on our next episode for our recipe classes. I hope you guys are learning a lot. All right, stay safe.